Hi, friends. Well, I wanted to have a conversation about something today that was a blind spot to me for a long time. It really took me a while to kind of crack the code on this. And even though, like, I quote unquote cracked the code, it's still an everyday effort kind of phenomenon. Meaning, when I work on it, it works. When I don't work on it, when the intention is not on that, it just flops. So what am I talking about? As human beings, I learned this as a theory, right? That we all try to look good. Meaning, we're trying to portray ourselves in the best light. We have this vision of who we are or what we aspire to be, and then we try to convince people that this is who we are. What that looks like is we're trying to guide people's perception of us rather than really guiding ourselves to really be that way, and then have the perception be a natural response to who we are being. I'll give you an example. If I tell you, well, I'm a good person, X, Y, and Z, then it's really interesting how the moment I say that, you will actually look for all the evidence where I'm not a good person. Any discrepancy to me being good will be very obvious to you because people are intelligent. And not just the people are intelligent, right? That's a kind of a blanket statement, but we are, as humans, alert to small little changes and discrepancies in people's being. Why? Because the brain is organized around keeping us safe, not to go too much into neuroscience right now. So when I say, well, I'm a good person, even the way I said it, I'm a good person, you're immediately going like, no, she's not, right? Because you're intelligent. You go like, well, if you're a good person, why do you have to say it? Like, what are you compensating for? Immediately, that kind of mental chatter shows up. So saying, well, I'm a good person, immediately has people around me question, why am I saying that? Why do I have to say it? Because if I am a good person, I can just be. I can just be. And then you, as somebody observing me, as somebody listening to me, can be a judge if I come across to you as good or not. Because your perception of me is in your hands, not in mine. So this massive obsession with guiding people's perception, which I get it, like people who do branding work, that's an amazing work. And actually most of, at least from what I've seen, most of great branding work actually is not about trying to fool people, but it's actually about trying to dig deep into who we really are, and then highlighting that so that people can respond to who we are rather than who we are not. So I'm not talking about branding. Branding is a great industry. But I'm talking about just like our personal experience. When somebody's telling you there's something, or they're trying to have you believe that there's something, and you very clearly see every single discrepancy to that. So what's the answer, right? If that's the case, then, oh wow, like then let's give up on being a good person altogether. Well, here's the answer. Here's the answer. Don't try to be anyone or anything. Just be you. Be you. And be willing to mess up. And then be willing to course correct. Because you're going to mess up. You're going to say things, and then people are going to respond to it in a way that you never intended them to respond. In a way that never occurred to you to offend them. Let yourself be. And then when people respond to you, or when you offend people, and when people give you feedback, then rather than react to their feedback, take it in. Take it in. And ask yourself like, wow, am I hurtful? Now I'll give you a personal example. I'm somebody who is like pretty kind of out there, straight shooter. Like people who know me personally know that I don't really walk around the bush, right? Like I say it how it is for me. That hasn't worked for me in every situation. There were situations when I would just say something because it's my perception and it's how I see things, and people would say something like, oh, let's keep the conversation respectful. that had me look at, okay, why are they questioning if I'm respectful or not? And then I would think for myself, what did I say? Recently, I've actually had something like that happen in an email, and I reread my email. And then I realized that I was speaking of how things occurred from my perspective. And I've actually, in looking back, I realized that my email was pretty responsible, and that the person was actually not willing to be responsible for the impact that they had on me. So in that case, for example, I didn't have to change, or I didn't have to apologize. As a matter of fact, I took the conversation further by letting them know that that it was hurtful to me, because it was. It was hurtful to me that they've judged me so harshly because of how factual I was. My email was straight factual. It wasn't really offensive to anyone. I didn't put anyone down, etc. But I got to this place where I could even speak that way because I am willing to look. And that's really all you can do. I'm willing to look. So for example, when you're watching a movie, sometimes, you will look at certain characters and they will not look believable. That is because the actor is acting. They're acting that person rather than really being that person. So, I take acting with Sandy Shorin. She's my acting teacher, and she calls her teachings transformational acting. And I personally really like it. Why? Because in her classes, we're not trying to act a particular way. We are actually looking at ourselves and finding the character within us. And once we find it and understand it within us, then we just let ourselves be. We just imagine, essentially, the circumstances that this person is in, and we're allowing ourselves to react naturally in the circumstances that this person has. And that kind of acting usually feels really authentic. You feel you're relating to the characters. Not only that you as an audience have an experience, but the actor themselves has an experience. So that's another really good way to tell if there's authenticity to where you are. Because when you're being, there will be an actual experience of what you're saying and how you're saying. And if you are aware, you will be able to check in with yourself and know, like, wow, is this, like, what I'm saying is not even landing, or wow, this person might be offended by what I'm saying, because you see how they're reacting to what you're saying. And then organically in the conversation, you can shift and be that good person you're committed to being, rather than just telling us who you are and how you want us to see you, and being really mad when that doesn't come across, when in an essence, you're being mad. Why? That people are smart, that people are able to do critical thinking and see the discrepancies. Anyway, I wanted to share about this. I think it's really, really useful, especially in the world of social media, where people are guiding their image all the time. They're spending enormous amount of money trying to portray themselves in certain light. I mean, PR industry is multi-million-dollar industry as well, and everybody's guiding our perception. But what if we just bring awareness to it? There's nothing wrong in wanting to put your best foot forward, but the key to actually understanding and being in this world in the most powerful way is by being aware, bringing that to the table, being less obsessed with what people say, how they say it, how they see you, but really reflecting back, getting feedback, and being present in a moment and dancing with life. I hope this is helpful.